Hi, I'm Karen, and I want to share with you the incredible journey from loneliness and boredom of being by yourself to the expanded creative potential of solitude, and what you have to look forward to if you choose to take that journey. And it really is a journey inside. You may be a person who doesn't really enjoy being alone and is always looking for something to do or have something on, like some music or some TV show, or you have to be on the phone if you're in the car just to fill up the time. That's fine, but it takes a lot of work. So I'm all for like the easy way and also the lazy way of finding pleasure in life. And I didn't know this until I was in my 50s when my kids left home and I got divorced, and for the first time ever I was living alone. Like really the first time ever in my whole life. I grew up in a family with 4 sisters, and there were 7 of us in the house, and there was we shared beds. That's there was only 2 rooms in the house with air conditioning. So in the summertime, all 5 of us slept in the upstairs bedroom, which had an AC, and 5 little girls in 3 beds. And we would even have sleepovers with our friends. And so sometimes there'd be like 8 girls in 3 beds. We just all squish in like sardines. So that was my life. And then I became a mother very young and had more kids, and there was always kids in the house and stuff going on, and I was with my spouse. And so it wasn't until my 50s that I just had a chance to catch my breath and get to know myself. I was really surprised. I guess it was good timing, because it was just like I was ready for it. I was like starting to crave it. I was like, ooh, okay. And so one of the great things about being alone is you really do get to know yourself. You can just start making decisions and choices that are based on what you want and what you like. And so that opens all these possibilities, like, well, what do you like? And what is interesting to you? And without taking everybody else's needs into consideration. And I've been a person that has been more a go with the flow type. So I've always had a lot of, usually my partner is very directive. And so I didn't really make a lot. I allowed him to make a lot of decisions because I basically didn't care. So now that I was alone, it was like, oh, it was on my shoulders. Like, oh, what do I want to eat? What do I want to look at? Where do I want to go today? What do I want to do? What is interesting to me and pulling me in a certain direction, like a heart-centered direction that's actually like authentically interesting to me. And one of the things that I discovered was, I had to look at like kind of a little bit of victimhood, like, oh, now I have to be all by myself and I want to go places, but I don't have anybody to go with. And that was one of the things at the end of the marriage. It was like I had all this like wanderlust that had been like kind of like just there, like it was starting to just like bubble up. Like, I want to go here, I want to go there, I want to go to Thailand, I want to go to India. I went all these places I'd read about that sounded so interesting. It was like I wanted to go see those places and spend time in those places. And then I felt a little bit like, oh, nobody wants to go. I don't have anyone to go with, and my spouse didn't want to go with me, and it was just kind of like, like kind of a bummer. But this was so mysterious. So I was kind of like thinking about that one day in my new apartment, and I heard like somewhere from deep inside of me, I want to go where you want to go. I want to see what you want to see. I was like, what's that? It was like a voice of like something really deep. And I thought, wow, yeah, that kind of makes sense, doesn't it? Like that there's an aspect of me, like a very deep, connected aspect of me that is totally interested in all the things that I'm totally interested in. Because really, when you think about it, where do those interests come from anyway? not the ones that is like what everybody that are like, social programming kinds of things, or what your group is into, or everyone's talking about going on vacation on a certain place and you think, well, maybe I should go too, or I've missed it, not like that, but like the things that are uniquely and quirky, and they're just you, and they're just like this kind of like, you don't even know where it comes from. But when you start to like follow that breadcrumb trail, it is like, it is from your heart, and it leads you to your heart. And this deep part of you that is your inner being or your high self is like planting those seeds. I mean, it's like, that's who you really are. So of course, that part of you is very interested in going those places that are in your heart to go, because that's who put it there in the first place. I mean, it's kind of an amazing thought. But I had a teacher in college who was truly a mystic. His name is Father John S. Dunn. And one of the things he talked about in one of his books was, it's like there's two streams. There's this upper stream or river that we see on the surface, but there's this deeper river that is flowing kind of parallel to it, that we may not even be aware of, but it's like it has a much stronger current, and it's like more deeply who we are. And a life well lived is one that we can connect or touch into that deeper stream, or have awareness that it exists and that it's flowing parallel to us. And then even what's possible is to have the streams merge and just become one stream. And that's a really beautiful image, I think. But also an image of solitude, and how, like, when you tap into that deeper sense of self, there's this thing that happens where actually that sense of self, that self does really want to do the things you want to do and see the things that you want to see. Like, it really is like having a bestie, a best friend who just loves the same movies that you love, loves the same food that you love, is interested in the same things that you are. And I think that it's like what happened with me was, it started to feel like it wasn't just like me and my inner self, but it was like this collective was kind of coming into my awareness. Like that I wasn't, it was like there was a party going on, is how it felt and how it feels when I'm alone and I'm just in like this kind of quiet and creative space. It's like there's this kind of group energy and kind of a funness and enjoyment. And creativity is a big part of that, because in that space, it's like kind of a timeless space. And creativity just kind of naturally flows from it, like fun doing things. I love to do needlepoint, I love to knit, I love to make videos, I love to like journal about the stuff that I'm learning. I love to learn from other people, other spiritual teachers. I love to also just like self-study. I really enjoy following meditations, like guided meditations, and doing things with groups around meditation. So all these things, it sounds like, oh, that's pretty solitary, but I'm actually participating kind of with a group energy, and it's very fun and very fulfilling. So the other thing that happened is that the more I connected with this kind of inner circle or inner tribe or inner like group of friends or whatever thing, I started drawing to me friends, like spiritual friends in the physical world. I mean, it was like I kind of went from, and I know a lot of people will connect with this, just kind of feeling like, am I the only one out here who's a weirdo who's studying this stuff, to like feeling like, oh no, I really actually am part of a group. I really am part of a collective. I really am part of a network. And even if there's like people who I'm not in conversation with, I feel a connection with them, because there's Like if I'm studying something very, new to me and exciting, like reality transurfing, and then to connect with other people who are also into it. It's like, how did they hear about it? I only just heard about it. And I feel the same way about the people who are studying with Paul Selig's material. It's like, wow, when I do an online workshop with other people from around the world who are doing the same thing, it's like, wow, look at this. I'm now having this kind of connection with others who are on the path, and I feel very connected and a part of things. But my point is that really started happening after, or this in connection with, me finding this inner group, this inner connection to self, which I would say is self-love. That's what happens when we start to love ourselves. When we take the time to be quiet, to be alone, to do the things that we love to do, that's when we start, like, actually, some people call it self-care, or, creative, like giving yourself time in solitude to be creative. But it's like, it really is love. It's like, wow, to do the things you love to do that no one else maybe even gives a rip about, but you, for whatever reason, love to do it. Things like working in your yard, and just like, or just, I love to cook, I love to just be in the kitchen by myself, preparing. I love to prepare my meals, and I really enjoy it. For me, it's just a pleasure, but I don't feel alone while doing it. I feel like I'm with, in this like awesome collective experience. So the thing about the creativity piece of it is that really, to be creative, like we all, or many of us, would like to be more creative, but it's like it really goes hand in hand with solitude. And Picasso he's one of my heroes, and one of the things that was really interesting about him and his life is how much, like, he produced so much art, so many paintings, but he gave himself time alone in a studio to do that. Like, he really had a schedule where he had some time for socializing. He slept till like 11 apparently, and then he had have some lunch and socialize with his at the coffee shop, and then he'd go home, and then studio time, not to be disturbed. And it was no apologies and no exceptions. He had that studio space time. And then he took some time off to have dinner, and again, it was time for, he socialized. But then in the evening, back to his studio, and he worked till 2 or 3 in the morning every night. Like, every day. He had the same schedule. And he had carved out solitude, uninterrupted work time for his art, for his painting. And to allow the creativity, full expression, unhampered with, other people's needs, basically. It's like, which is like, you may be thinking, that's totally not possible in my life right now, Karen. But do the part that is possible. Maybe it's 10 minutes. Maybe it's just taking a few minutes every day to just be like, okay, I'm gonna unplug, I'm gonna take a power nap, or take a little walk. I'm gonna just give myself time to do what I like to do, to doodle, and just bring out my doodling. I have a friend who does watercolor. She says, I just sometimes take a break from work and, do a watercolor for 15 minutes. And that's like my little coffee break, but it invigorates me and inspires me, and I love it. So I think that's just brilliant. It's like, yeah, you can have what a crazy way to just have a little art break, a little wonderful me time, and connect with that solitude. So if you're a person who, like me, like maybe don't have any solitude in your life, you could consider that this is something that really you can look forward to as you get older. Because it's natural as we get older that we do get more introspective and we have more time to ourselves because, people move away. Our kids go off and live their own lives, and, partners sometimes, leave, and we might find ourselves, or we may be like, because in self-quarantine and just at home, working at home, not having that daily interaction with people. So if that's something that you're experiencing, I just invite you to turn the corner with it and really see it as an opportunity to get to know yourself, to have much more creativity available, and to really explore self-love, and what does that mean, and how can I be receptive to my own needs and wants and my interests, and follow that breadcrumb trail of interesting things, and see how that current, like that river that's running underground that we're maybe not even aware of, starts to bubble up, and then giving us more inspiration and joy for no reason, and the pleasure that is just a kind of a wonderful pleasure of feeling this connectedness to self, and feeling like this real true inner self that's so interested in the things that you're so interested in such a cool, authentic, unexpected way. So this is the journey from being lonely to enjoying the heck out of yourself and spending time with yourself.